my name is John Heiko-Brenhorst. I am Director of Operations at VTrax. I've been with the company for almost double-digit years, almost. Yes. So, and this is, I believe, our 13th year-ish of this event. Something like that. This is like my segue to introducing Brandon Hill, who's going to say some welcoming words. The CEO and founder of VTrax.
Hey, thank you. Are you guys enjoying onigiri? It's from a good friend of mine from Hokkaido, Japan. Kotokachi Musubi, so thanks for that. Thank you very much for Firehouse. It was extremely hard to find a venue this time around, but it's good. We're trying to connect US startups and Japanese startups, and we do this on an annual basis. It's been the first time in the last 3 years to have a real event. So we are very happy to have you guys in the same room, have a real event. You can see people, mingle around, talk to people. That's wonderful. VTrax, we provide design, branding, and marketing services. Companies going to the Japanese market, globalizing their services and branding their services in the country, as well as help them market their services. Likewise, we work with many Japanese companies to expand to the US and beyond. So that's what we do, and this is part of VTrax activities, and we are so excited to see you all here today. So thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. We'll be doing again soon. Make sure. So tonight's agenda, we're running pretty good on time. As you know, we're welcoming you right now, as you can see. And next, we're going to be doing a couple of fireside chats. Really excited. So for those of you who don't know, we've partnered with a nonprofit for this event. And the nonprofit is the Japan Exchange Teaching Program, Alumni Association of Northern California and Nevada. I believe it's still Nevada, so we're including them. And so we had an event beforehand, kind of a career happy hour networking event. And so the first fireside chat is technically sponsored or hosted by the JET Alumni Association, and we'll have speakers. I'm feeling pretty proud with the titling. That's my wordsmithing. Inspired by Japan making waves in the Bay. We're going to be talking with Matt Cohen from Off the Grid, CEO and founder. And then we're going to have another fireside chat, advice for entrepreneurs. So for those of you who are interested in raising funding, starting your own business, if you're an entrepreneur, we have a couple of our judges who just happen to work in the VC field. And so really excited for Mitchell and Vicky to be joining the fireside chat that Brandon will be doing. Throughout the evening, we will have intermissions and breaks. The thing that we're hoping you do is we hope that you go into this back room. I know the signage wasn't there, but just follow Brandon, not now. And there's 4 Japanese startups that will be talking about their ideas. Pretty fun stuff. And as you saw the QR code, I think everybody knows how to work QR codes nowadays. And if you don't, talk to Brandon. Oh, yeah. And then for about an hour, we're going to have 6 startups pitching. 3 from the US and 3 from Japan. Very exciting. They are not doing US versus Japan. They're doing them against everybody else. So just to be clear, this isn't a US versus Japan event. We're going to have some networking. Please help us drink and eat the food. And any questions? Are we good to go? All right, then without further ado, I get to keep a hold of this microphone. And I'm going to kick off the fireside chat with Matt Cohen. Are you ready? All right, first of all, Matt, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your connection to Japan?
I guess now about 24 years ago, a long time, I went to Japan on the JET program. I was a teacher in inner city Atlanta, and I had a master's degree in teaching, but had never traveled abroad really or lived abroad for an extended amount of time. And I had a friend who had been in the JET program, actually rural Sagaken, for those that know it, in Kyushu, northern Kyushu. And chose my town explicitly when I applied and stayed for 3 years. And so, when I came back, I got involved in other antics, but my relationship with Japan is heavily influenced my life.
Very cool. So it sounds like there's people out there who are Jet, but nobody knows Saga. It's kind of like what you
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
Excellent accents. Very close to people.
Is that why you chose it?
Yeah, it was the same latitude as Atlanta, where I was living at the time. And so I didn't want to be in a place that was cold. That was my number one priority.
All right, thank you very much. So you went to Japan on the JET program. How has it, and we can talk about the JET program, but I'd really like to focus, how is your experience in Japan kind of parlayed into what you're doing today?
So for those that don't know, my company Off the Grid, we're best known actually for food truck events. We run food truck events all over the Bay Area and kind of large scale catering as well. Maybe during the summertime we'll feed 200,000 to 300,000 people. So the experience though of starting, John and I know each other well since the time we landed in San Francisco, and we were in business together for the business that preceded Off the Grid. And the idea was we were kind of inspired by mobility, and we started a ramen business. And that actually came from the area of Fukuoka, where I used to live, is famous for tofu ramen. And so, that idea of yatai kind of experience and ramen in particular drove us at the time into kind of the pop-up food space and mobile food space. I stayed, John went in a different direction. And the result of that is Off the Grid. But I would also just say, I arrived in Japan on the JET program with an idea that it was a kind of moment in time for me, but when I came back, I would start my professional life. I think a lot of people kind of have that feeling of like, oh, I'll come back, go to business school, law school, whatever. I'll get a kind of a different kind of job. And I did that too, and I ended up working in hotels. But the thing that actually I'm doing right now and I find to be incredibly fulfilling is actually closest still. Like the day I arrived in Japan, I started throwing big parties, like beach parties in my town in Japan, where at the time, like literally jets from all over the country would converge on my little town during the summertime. And I got in trouble from the Shiak show. I got in trouble, but at the time, it's so clear, going back, these kind of event planning parties that I was creating were actually the passion that I ultimately ended up pursuing in my professional life.
That was a lot. That was good.
I hope it was cool.
And what's interesting is you got in trouble with your Shiak show or your kind of Board of Education and whatnot. I feel like when I attend a lot of events around Japan, one thing that keeps getting said is try something, and then if it doesn't work, then just really apologize. And everything's okay after that. Is that kind of how? Did you stop doing it, or how did that play out?
No, bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing about Japan in general is it is this space where magical things can happen. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. I do. And so these amazing things just kind of happen from time to time, and probably a majority of it was out of ignorance, to be fair. But I just I apologized a lot.
And kind of on that note, many of us know Off the Grid as, especially pre-COVID, right? Most of us probably attended Fort Mason or the Picnic Cooper City and stuff like that. I'm guessing your time in Japan, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm okay to do that. But I'm guessing that kind of back and forth and apologizing and fixing and kind of building helped you in the time since, I would say, COVID. And how has that changed your business?
I feel like ultimately it's the connections that were created during that time that are still kind of heavily influencing my network in my life. I got involved in a sustainable fish project that was bringing flash frozen fish from Japan to the United States, kind of tangentially associated with my involvement in food stuff. That relationship came from one of my best friends in the world who lives in Kyoto. I find that I go back and forth to Japan, and all of these different opportunities emerge, whether it's through the Japanese government or different organizations like JETRO or different places that are kind of here or maybe connected here. And so, that powerful network, on both sides of the ocean, as you nurture it, it grows and it deepens, and some amazing things have come from that.
Such as?
Well, I mean, I mentioned the fish program, but I think that a lot of the connections that ultimately we're doing a lot of work in emergency response. A lot of the connections that have come from that have come from the Jet community and my friends and community, and it's kind of informing our growth as we expand out throughout the country. So that's just one example.
Okay. And in terms of, there are quite a few people here, so I'm not going to focus on that necessarily, but there are quite a few people here who were on the Jet program or were teachers, and now they're kind of transitioning to their jobs. They may be going to law school, maybe going to business school, but a lot of them might just be trying to find that next gig and finding that connection to Japan. Do you have any advice for people who are still figuring that out, or maybe they want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, the toughest thing, I'm of the opinion, the toughest thing about being an entrepreneur is starting being an entrepreneur. And so I'm of the opinion that you take the leap and you iterate and you scramble and just accept that it's going to be hard. And so that's the kind of first thing. The second thing is it's never about the kind of one shot, one kill, perfect silver bullet. It's always about iterate, adapt, and refine, and pursue opportunities as they're presented to you. I think that it's very few entrepreneurs who would probably say, oh, that first idea was the one that really nailed it, but you get customer feedback, you get validation, you get support, you build the relationships, and then, oh, there's these other opportunities that ultimately are the place you might find success.
And I mean, living in the Bay Area is a very special place when it comes to these things. And so, you brought up the ramen business, and I would have never thought of going out on my own, or I would have never thought of operating a ramen business, to be honest, if it wasn't for the networking piece of it, like meeting new people, talking about your ideas, even being honest about, I have no idea what the heck I want to do with my life. And then you meet a guy like Matt who's working in a hotel and says, I want to start a ramen business.
Out of a truck.
Out of a truck, yeah. Go ahead, please go on with that part of it.
In the middle of the recession in 2008. Yeah.
But we were also looking, problem solving was a very big part of that, right? It wasn't necessarily the ramen part of it or the truck part. It was more honestly about late night food opportunities. And for us, we really connected around when you leave a bar in Japan and you go to just a ramen food truck. I would say the learnings, and it wasn't quite like Japan because there was no doing it and apologizing, was that there are so many more rules. And so we had to navigate that, and that's the fun part about Off the Grid, to be honest.
Well, and ultimately, what the difference between Tabe Trucks was the name of the business that we started. The difference between what made Tabe Trucks unsuccessful and Off the Grid successful was it was the rules and being excellent at understanding the rules, better than anybody else at understanding the rules. That's why Off the Grid was able to find spaces that ultimately led to our business success. And so, it wasn't the first notion of doing a ramen truck, right? It was this other thing that ultimately led to us running mini trucks, but in a different sort of way.
And how are you problem solving these days?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the kind of Bay Area community. I think one of the things that you're just kind of saturated by how technology can kind of heavily influence your business kind of in general. And so for us, we are evolving in terms of think COVID impacted us in some meaningful ways, but we're evolving in how we apply technology in order to be able to help us scale. So, our business is 50% engineers at this point, as much as the people who were contributing on, sales or event planning. And so I think we're evolving in terms of how we take the experience we create here in the Bay Area and kind of deliver that experience in a place like LA or New York or other places in the future. So that's what we've been working on.
Very cool. Very cool. Great to see and hear about. I'm gonna go a little lighter for a sec. What do you miss most about Japan?
Hot springs, 100%. I don't know if anybody lived near a hot spring or hot spring towns, but it's the best.
And it's okay if you disagree with them, because no, thank you.
Or closely followed by a asahi in a frozen mug on a hot Japanese summer day when there's no air conditioning around is like a special moment.
Yeah. And part of what I enjoy about this is it's we had Japan in common, when we met, but our passion really was about solving other kinds of problems. And we've kept in touch and done projects still to this day. We're talking about 2008, right? So I know I look younger than that, but it's been a wild ride. I'm just grateful that Matt has continued on, shared what he's learned, and just continued to solve problems for other people. So I think what we'll do is we'll take one question. If anybody has a question, raise your hand, but then I'm gonna have you come up here too, so be prepared to walk. All right. Oh, you gotta come up here though, because we're live streaming, and I need to make sure that they hear your question.
So it's a lot of talk about Japan and US. I'm coming all the way from India. I'll be here for 2 months. I might see you guys again. So the question is, I always hear about solving problem. So if you don't mind telling, without me sounding Indian, what is the next problem that you're planning to solve?
It's a good question. So off the grid, food trucks, mobile, we have been interested in the emergency response space, how we can be involved in helping in large scale emergencies for quite some time. In 2017, we got started with helping support food response for the fires that were in California. But during COVID, basically, I thought I was well prepared going into COVID. We had corporate dining, we had catering, we had our public markets. I was manufacturing these modular structures. We were doing some interesting stuff, but basically COVID destroyed all of that. My business, in 1 week, I lost $2 million of business in 1 week in March 18th of 2020. And so, and then I proceeded to have to do layoffs. So to answer your question, the problem that I'm trying to solve is the result of that was we got involved in helping administer meal programs that supported restaurants be able to help people stay at home during COVID. And we turned that into a whole business called Food Responders, which is a kind of multi-sided platform that allows organizers for emergency services to be able to program local restaurants. So over the course of COVID, we, I think we served 5 million or so meals. We're the city of Merced right now. We're serving about 1,000 people a day in the city of Merced right now, helping the state of California. And I'm trying to figure out how to grow that outside of California without going bankrupt. So that's the problem I'm trying to solve.
All right. That actually brings up another point for me. So it's been an interesting couple of years with the pivots and kind of the refocusing and stuff like that. What advice do you give to people who have basically, hitting a point where they either need to shut down, make a change? How do you go through those decisions? Do you have your little group of super smart people that you talk to?
Yeah. For those that are considering entrepreneurship can be a lonely experience. And so I think having close relationships of people that you trust and even in the hardest times, like leaning into being open about that, I think is really important. I think the older that I get, the more that I view the importance of balance and having moments to be able to step away and be able to think. But in the real heat of the moment, time of the most stress associated with COVID, it was really just a kind of either I'm gonna take ownership of this and responsibility for figuring out a way, or I'm not. I realized saying that out loud, it could feel like a really unsatisfying answer because there was no certainty. And I think ultimately, if you start a business, there are going to be moments where there's no certainty. It's just the willingness to kind of put in, work harder, literally harder than anybody else, and to be able to kind of pivot and find a way. And fortunately, I feel so lucky that we were fortunately able to do that, because a lot of people didn't kind of have that path. But I think, don't underestimate the power of work and effort, but also staying nimble enough to see opportunities as they're presented to you.
Are you planning on doing any business or starting a business in Japan?
So I'm really intrigued by the interest rates available on loans in Japan. And also I have this obsession with Ishigaki in Okinawa. And so I've been trying to harangue my friends into this currency arbitrage weird thing. So yes, is the answer, but it tends to be kind of esoteric and I'm still involved with this fish thing that John and I have been working on as well. So there are these interesting opportunities that come from random places and only Japan, right? So yeah, I look forward to continuing to do this in Japan.
And he knows he had me at Okinawa. Well, thank you very much for taking time today. Looks like you're going to have to go home in the rain, but we really appreciate you joining and sharing your thoughts.
Well, I really appreciate it, and thank you, everyone.
I don't know what happened. Yes. Just a sec while we bring up. We will be actually. Oh, here we are. Bam. All right. Next, we have another fireside chat that will be led by Brandon, and our speakers will be Vicky and Mitchell.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool. So this part is talk from point of VCs. Matt is an entrepreneur. You guys are VCs, the people who invest in entrepreneurs. Why don't you introduce yourself, including your background, your roles at your company, what you guys do?
Sure. Thanks, Brandon, and thanks the whole team of Tracks of me and Mitch, of course. And I'm Vicky Shum, Chief Operating Officer at World Innovation Lab, WIL for short. So we're a US and Japan VC fund. We invest in the US, in Japan, and in addition to providing capital to startups, we also help US and Europe companies enter the Japan market and help Japanese companies go global. And in addition to direct investments in startups, we also have a fund of funds, meaning we invest in other venture funds, and we also work with our investors who are leading global Japanese companies in helping them with digital transformation and other innovation activities. My background is actually I was a strategy consultant. I started a .com back in the 1.0 days, business school, and then worked at a large company, Sony PlayStation, and then went back to startup to head up product. So I've gone from 0 to 1, I've built products, I've worked at huge companies, and currently I'm helping growth stage startups go global and scale.
Cool. Thank you very much, Mitchie.
My name is Mitchell Weinstock. I'm a venture partner at HP Tech Ventures and also at Ignite XL. So I've been doing corporate venture capital for the last 7 years for HP, which is a giant corporation. But prior to that, I had done 5 early and later stage startups. 1 exit at Sony, 1 exit at Marvell, 1 crashed and burned and came back to life. Razer, the gaming company, there's actually 2 Razers. I was in Razer 1, which died, and Razer 2 still exists. And we can get into some of that later. So I have had a chance to look at lots of different parts of the ecosystem because I've been in product marketing, I've been VP of business development, I have had to do almost every little thing you could imagine. Small companies like Karniouchina, which is only 7 people, and giant companies like Apple, where I was responsible for something called QuickTime, which is why all your phones stream today. I met Vicky at Karniouchina when we did the first streaming applications that ran on Palm and tried to make her Sling player work. So streaming didn't work on anything. So I've got a wealth of experience on the operations side, and over the last few years been investing in Series A companies, and I'm now helping Ignite XL with pre-seed and seed in other spaces that HP normally would be in. So it's been an interesting ride.
Cool. So just in case for people who are not very familiar with the differences between VCs and corporate VCs, maybe Mitchell, you could explain what would be some of the key differences between whatever you call venture capitalists and corporate venture capitalists.
So corporate venture capital and venture capital are different in a number of different ways, and I'll try to go through it. Venture capital people are in it for the money. They want to see lots of money as fast as possible. They will invest in anything that makes money that's in their investment thesis. So if you've got a dog walking app that's going to make a lot of money, they're going to love that. Most VCs have some areas of focus that they want to be in, and we're going to talk about how CVCs have a strategy for that. But they're there to drive the business. They invest and they follow on each one of your stages. If you're hitting your milestones, you're doing it really well, but they want a lot of control. They want a board seat. They want to fire you as the CEO if you're not doing a good job. They want to have a really high exit. They would be mad if you got purchased at Series B and they go to C, D, E, F in an IPO. They want 5X in 5 years. Corporate venture capital is different. It's strategically aligned with their business units. Most corporations have some kind of business unit. HP has 3 big ones. They have one for print, one for 3D printing, and their personal systems units, which is what you've seen for laptops and displays, Bluetooth speakers, and everything you can possibly imagine coming from HP. So a CVC unit has to get the strategy from the corporation and say, what are your areas of focus this year? Corporate's fickle, by the way. They change their minds all the time. So you have to figure out if you're still on track with what they were thinking last when you first talked to them. And then you're trying to invest ahead of the business units. You're investing to learn about an area that maybe the corporation should be interested in. HP doesn't make robots today. Maybe we should invest in robots. They know how to make gears and power supplies and things that move. Sounds like a robot, right? But no one's going to go to Best Buy to buy an HP robot to wash your dishes or fold your clothing. So probably not strategic for HP. But you have to find things that are on strategy. So maybe track and trace is more in that area. Anyway, CVCs have to go to the business unit and ask them what they want. Then they go out and hunt for that. But they have to get a sponsor from inside the company. That person has a reputational risk. You're coming in and saying, I found this really cool thing that can track stuff all around the world. And he's got to go with me to an investment review board and say, I let Mitchell spend this $2 million on this cool thing because it'll help my strategy 4 years from now. His job is to explain strategy. My job is explain why you're not going to go out of business. It's a pretty interesting 15-minute meeting. They'll ask this guy all kinds of questions like, well, I thought last week you said that this thing was more important. Is this more important? Is that more important? There's this very strange dance that they go through. And once they believe the strategy is right, then they give me permission to go ahead and do things on the investing side. This takes a lot of time. Okay. VCs can go to a coffee shop with you. If they like you, they can write you a check. Corporate ventures, probably a 3-month period of time. Lots of stakeholders have got to be involved. I've got to convince all kinds of people inside the company that if the leader turns to you and says, is this a good idea? You're going to say yes. And he comes to anybody and says no, he may get scared. So it's a completely different thing.
Vicky, is that all true that Mitchell says VCs are entrepreneurial and you all only care about money?
Well, yeah, I was going to supplement that. So, there are many different VCs and different people have different ways. But just take us, address how we do things. So for Innovation Lab, we, of course, we have a fiduciary duty to our investors, our limited partners, our LPs. We have to have financial returns. One, of course, that's goes without saying. In addition to that, though, because of our unique structure, because our LPs are Sony, Nissan, Suzuki, 7-Eleven, all these great Japanese and global companies. There is actually a reason why they want to work with us is because they want to become even more innovative and more competitive. And so because we have to serve LPs together with our portfolio, we have to serve LPs, we also do a lot of these other things in terms of helping them become more nimble, helping them with organizational change, to do things a bit more quickly as well as more strategically. And so a VC like us, we also have that other side of focus as well, in addition to the making money part. And for us, it's actually there's a third pillar, which is a lot of, we also collaborate with the Japanese government, and that's where our organizations share a lot of similarities. That we also work with Japanese government entities to help foster the Japan entrepreneurial ecosystem, and we do a lot of similar workshops, events for entrepreneurs as well. So in a way, we have multiple focus, but of course, we have to have a so it is indeed true, but of course there are additional nuances in terms of depending on this.
Do you guys have any particular fields that you're interested in now? I understand that your company recently invested in DeepL, the translation company. So do you guys have any particular core fields that you're interested in investing into?
Right. So for us, because our LPs are mostly enterprises. So if you can imagine, of course, we're a little bit more B2B focused, anything that would help an enterprise, a big company become more efficient. So AI, ML, of course, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, of course, that has been the focus, and especially now, right? With generative AI, and that's obviously a very hot area that we're looking more into. So SDL, which is this fabulous translation tool for individual customers and for enterprise customers. That's, for example, one of the areas we're looking into, but in general, you can imagine anything that helps the organization or enterprise run more smoothly, more efficiently. That's what we're focusing on. And in addition, more recently, with our third fund, we started focusing on more digital health, as well as sustainability. Now, this is, of course, a very wide field. I mean, of course, that's why we come to these events and actually learn from entrepreneurs about what kind of possible solutions can be created in this large field. And sustainability is one of the focus because our LPs care about it in terms of, how can we partner with certain startups to help them achieve certain ESG goals back in Japan as well. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Specifically speaking, what sort of, I would say, criteria or elements do you look look from entrepreneurs or startups? Any particular criteria that you go through when you evaluate entrepreneur or startup?
Sure. So the first thing is I'm always looking for a team of two. It's the power of two. Usually there's a technical founder who doesn't want to do the business models, who doesn't want to do the slides, who just wants to work on the tech. So you need that counterpart. Even the SIP had an apprentice. So you got to have somebody that you're working with that wants to do the other part that you're not so good at, but you have some good symbiotic relationship. So I'm always looking at investing teams first. You know, you can't fix a bad team with a good product. You can fix a bad product with a good team. You can pivot, you can keep changing. So the team comes first. I hate good ideas. I am sick of good ideas. I don't want to hear about another good idea. I want to see teams that can execute. I want to see teams that can do something and hit their milestones, tell the truth, there's problems, discuss it and figure out how to get it figured out. Everything comes out of that, really. So if you're working in areas that are part of an investment thesis and you've got a strong team and you know how to figure out how to not lose money and not run out of money before you get to the end, those are really critical pieces, regardless of what the technology is you're in.
Plus one on that. So Mitch, you focus more on early stage, right? And so at Will, we focus a bit more on Series B, C, D, and beyond. And so when we get to meet the teams, usually it's post-revenue and some. So for us, it is really execution. It is traction, and I guess at that stage, we would have a lot of data to know, okay, it's beyond product market fit, it's about scaling. It's about scaling oftentimes beyond, to US, and that's kind of what we do, which is take companies to really global markets. So what we look for is the holistic team. Can they execute? Can they actually generate outcome, basically?
Sometimes the disruptive technology is not the technology, but it's a disruptive business model. You're doing something in a way that no one's thought about, and it captures people's imagination because now you've made it possible for it to work with people that never would have thought about before because it was either out of reach or they just couldn't see that this was better. So I think a lot of people think a great idea, but then they can't figure out how they're going to make money with it. So they walk around asking people, I've got this cool thing, what do I do with it? And then even if you figure it out, go through some customer discovery, ask people what they would do, what they would pay for it, and then just do some modeling and say, how many of these things are possible to sell? You have to have some kind of idea that if you want venture is pouring gasoline on an existing fire. It's made to go faster, it's an accelerant. So if you don't have an idea of how you're going to make money, making even more money is going to be
Speaking of accelerating, do you have any examples of startups going global market? Are there any particular tendencies or patterns for startups that could go global or not?
Think about what happened with Zoom. Zoom was, in the beginning of the pandemic, they had to figure out how to get all over the planet really fast. And they used a very interesting technique through a company called Localization Partners. These guys can set up a nexus in a legal entity where it takes way too long to do that in a different country. But they can send these guys in, they would hire them, they would get everything in place and get employees up running really fast. So they could expand, and they were able to expand in a way that was just impossible under normal circumstances. So techniques like that are really interesting to see companies grow just amazingly fast with these kinds of techniques.
Vicky, a specific question. So I want to ask you about specifically coming from Japan to the US market and beyond. I understand it's extremely difficult. I haven't seen too many successful examples of doing that. Do you guys have any advice, or do you work with any startups coming to the US market from Japan, expanding globally?
Right, so yeah, I'm combine my answers to the previous two questions. So in terms of, US to Japan, it is true just because there's so many more. growth stage US companies, and they definitely want to go global. And in this case, like we're trying to do a more high touch approach. So you're talking about the Zoom example, which is, okay, it's kind of mass almost. For us, how we help one of our own portfolio companies is Asana, which is a productivity software, work management software, and how they actually were successful in entering the Japan and the Asian market because number one is they do have very leadership focus. It's a top-down focus in terms of, this is kind of their commitment, and they're just gonna do it. And of course, we come in as the investor and also the partner, really, in helping them with a few key areas, including hiring the country manager, the kind of founding team in Japan, number one. Number two is helping them get customers, because we have to come with a good network of potential customers, these LPs, or investors, who are these Sony and Suzuki's who could be using Asana's product, and also we help them with kind of market development, PR, in the very beginning. So that's sort of what we do for our portfolio companies from going to US to Japan. From Japan to US, it is indeed harder because I guess as we all know, the market in terms of kind of Japan growth stage companies and people who are having that global mindset, they think it's becoming way better now, but traditionally, there's just not as many Japanese companies with this global mindset. But yeah, we do have a number of portfolio companies who do have this ambition and trying to really come to the US. So one example that came to mind is Mercari. So they're kind of peer-to-peer commerce, and they're one of the first unicorns in Japan. So in the very beginning, we helped them with recruiting kind of the founding team in the US, and of course they just kind of executed from there on. So we're trying to take similar approach in terms of the key things that we can focus on. But yeah, we're still working.
One good example of that. So I was in Kawasaki this last August. Being in Japan in August is not a good idea, but it's hot. But Mito had a fabulous program where they got several companies together and put them through classes, and Klaus and Aaron's class, this global class, which the book is based on, and taught them what they needed to do to come from Japan to the United States. Now, Asuni was in that particular group, which is a decarbonization company, and they are getting a lot of traction. They went through a 3-day workshop that seems to have really helped them, especially the back in the meeting.
Wonderful. This will be the last question. What will be some of the common mistakes that early stage entrepreneurs make? So that they should avoid.
I think the biggest one I see, and I'll just say that I find a lot of decks very effective, is that they don't have a good concept of what their competition is, especially when they leave their home. So you might be the best at what you are in your country, and then you think you're the only guy, and it's not true. If I'd seen a decarbonization company, I can probably very quickly find 5 more. If you don't have a presentation deck that says, I know about those guys, and here's why I'm better, or here's why I'm going to do something that they can't do, I should know more about your business than you do. So spend a little bit of time making sure that even if you're not the only one, you're the best, you're 10 times better than somebody else.
Yeah, and I was once an entrepreneur myself, and I definitely have learned this lesson myself and through my mentors and my network as well, which is what we are building, is it just a vitamin or is it Tylenol? Is it nice to have versus must have? Because if it's just a nice to have, then yeah, your chances of success is going to be good.
Thank you very much. I think we are running out of time, but thank you so much for making it today. Looking forward to All right. So any of you co-founders, you may want to find a co-founder.
Also, I need you to do that several of those Japanese. I'm gonna sing all my words. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you have checked out 4 demo booths. Enjoyed some onigiri, rice balls for the non-Japanese speaking folks, and the mocktails. Apologies if you feel a little bit that's not alcohol. So, our judges, 2 of them you heard speak in the fireside chat. So Vicky and Mitchell shared a lot of great insights, but our 3rd judge is our resident SF pitch night judge, Dr. Kate Karniouchina, who has been a judge for 4 years now. Also judged the International Midpass Case Competition last year. She holds a PhD in marketing, an MBA and a BA degree in finance from the University of Utah. She has extensive consulting experience and as a marketing research expert carries out projects for a number of small businesses, corporate, and government clients. Oh, and she's also a professor of business and the dean of Mills College. Lori, I will congratulate you. Is that it? Is that good? All right. Woo! Okay, so we're gonna have 6 startups pitching. They're going to be pitching for 3 minutes. It's short, we know. And so they really got to share some good stuff. Then they're gonna have 5 minutes of Q&A. Just be clear, I'm not gonna like walk up if they go over 3 minutes, but if they go over 4 minutes, and we're gonna cut it from their Q&A. So it's in their best interest to kind of be on the dot. Yeah. These are the ones that are going to speak. They are going to be judged on 5 categories: user-centered design, global impact, how innovative they are, their business model, and their presentation. So, I think without farther ado, we are going to invite Subaru from Death Note.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I'm an entrepreneur and I wear this orange uniform every day. It's because I was working on the front line of infrastructure inspection for 8 years, so I represent that I'm from frontline. So that's why I'm the 365 days orange entrepreneur and CEO of Techno. Okay? So actually, last Sunday I inspected the Golden Gate Bridge. It's beautiful, great bridge. And almost all of them is good condition. But a little bit earlier or damaged. I hope to be repaired as soon as possible. By the way, do you know how to make this rainbows? In fact, it's a boring work and we spend a lot of time and money for that. It should be improved. I want to change it. The vision is to make inspections simpler and more effective using digital tools. Of course, it's my solution. My solution is this. That camera. That camera can be used as iOS apps and as cameras and as synthesizing real-world and digital twin. And I have 3 phases of planning. Now, first phase, Death Note. Death Note is iPad apps, and by using Death Note, we can sketch directly in the field on the CAD drawing with simple filling like on paper. The value of Death Note is reducing workbook time by 50%. And this is the number of customers who want to use Death Note. In Japan market size, total is $50 billion. First reachable market is $800 million. And in the near future, I will surely release that camera. That camera value is reducing workbook time to 0. global market size is 2 trillion, quite huge. And this is my members, and my dream is coming true. And please reach me. And I'm planning to move to San Francisco in the near future. So please be friends with me. Let's talk to me. Thank you.
Ayaka, can you join just in case? Just in case we need some help with translating.
I think I love your presentation, by the way, too, with the costume and everything. I have a pretty short question. One of the things we need to brief you on is a user-centric design. So who is the primary user that you have in mind? So for whose benefit do you think this product is going to deliver? And my second question is that if you're using cameras to kind of inspect the bridge and document everything, have you considered the drone technology kind of to take the danger out of the whole enterprise?
So your first question is who is my customer first? So my first customers the first my customer is the company of frontline inspection company. So like me. So what's the so your number two question is compared to drone. So my competitive point. Yeah. So by drone, so many, especially bridges, so very not simple structure. So many areas cannot be inspected by drone. So in the near future, my solution, I wanna distinguish between one area that should be inspected by person, the other area can be okay by inspected by drone. So this is distinguish and is very important. So I see. Okay.
Hi, yeah, great energy, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And of course, one of the criteria we have to judge on is business model. So how would you describe your business model?
Yes. My business model is the first, the subscription model. So one user buy Japanese so 10,000 yen. So maybe about $100 per user by month. So okay.
So that's a price, which is a good video price. A business model is more than that. You would want a business model to know how many users you might be charging each month for the next 3 years, maybe, and how you're going to grow that each month. So you said you had how many customers you could talk to. So how much customer discovery are you doing? How many companies are you talking to every week about this idea? And how many of them, it looked like you had some pre-commitments. You told them the price, it was going to be $100 a month. This is only in Japan now, correct? So, go ahead and answer that.
Okay. So your first question is maybe how many users do I get? No,
The forecast.
Forecast. So
1ヶ月あたり、1週間あたり、どのぐらいのユーザー、どのぐらいの会社で声をかけていて、で、どのぐらいの営業をかけていて、どれくらいを見込んでるのか。
One week I contact some companies about 1 week in company. It's because my company was still very small. Full complement member is not enough. So 1 week, 1 10 company. But I also actually 1 week ago I received or trial use applications for 30 licenses from these companies. So I want to get the trial use application from now. Sorry to not that my English. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we're going to put out your English as well. Appreciate you presenting. I know that you come.
Hi, nice to meet everybody. I'm Shum Farhan. I am building a security orchestration, automation, and response platform, also known as a SOAR, and it is agent-based, and focus is endpoint management. So I'll start off by saying, what is an endpoint? An endpoint is maybe a laptop, server in the cloud, server on-prem, virtual machine. Those are all the kinds of things that companies have. Some of them are deployed to employees, some of them are just running the business. Those types of things need to be updated, patched, managed in lots of different ways. I'm building software that can help do that more efficiently. So primarily, when companies go to do this, there's 3 problems, but for this pitch I'm giving only 2. Primary thing is they have to buy 5 to 10 different tools to do all these type of endpoint management platform stuff, right? They have to buy all those tools and integrate them by hand, and that takes a lot of time. And there's open source tools that are pretty great, such as Facebook's OS Query and Google GRR. Facebook's OS Query, you can treat your endpoints as if they are a database, so you can query them. And Google GRR lets you do incident response, like pulling RAM off the machine. So I'm building an all-in-one tool, and that'll make it a lot more cost-effective. For one investor, I gave them an estimate of saving about $30,000 per month for a mid to large size company, and integrating these open source tools into the platform to reduce deployment times. So one investor asked me, well, what are the kind of the things that your company replaces, right? Command and control, this is kind of the main thing that most endpoint management tools do. Auto hardening, this only exists for Linux today. Remote access, something like a TeamViewer, auto provisioning machines, isolating endpoints, it's usually found in your antiviruses, investigating incidents. You're going to have that data to the platform and also utilizing some of the open source tooling. And let me talk about market size. Market size is extremely large. Basically, any company with endpoints should be managing them. Data breaches kind of drive the need to buy these types of tools. And hospitals and healthcare last year, $10 billion was lost just in breaches. Some of my competitors, we've got Tanium, they're worth $9 billion today. And I actually was the head of security in my last role, and their execution was so weak, I was forced to consider Microsoft. And Microsoft's execution is pretty bad as well, because it's pretty slow and lacks features, and forces you to use third-party tools. And then there's other tools that exist, like Jamf, which only work on Mac. My tool is going to work on all 3, Mac, Windows, and Linux. I have a prototype that right now can issue those commands, and I'm building it all in Rust. Okay. Gonna launch 5 engineers, founding team, myself, my first engineer, lawyer friend, and a few other friends, another key friend that's a CISO at that place. So, my go-to-market strategy is pretty simple. Charge companies per endpoint, negotiate, and price aggressively. I'm seeking about $1.5 billion, and here's my LinkedIn. Please add me if you're an investor. I was considering them to buy their product. I was a head of security at a startup here in SF, and Have you heard of Turing? Yeah.
So this is not for small, medium businesses, right? This is enterprise level.
It's B2B SaaS for enterprises, but small to medium will be my initial target customers, and then eventually large businesses.
So if I've got 10 lawyers in the office,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a policy manager, no one's looking at dashboards.
Correct.
How will it help them?
10 lawyers in an office probably isn't my target customer. My target customer is companies with at least 50 endpoints. So even if you have 10 lawyers in an office, I can price it in a way that makes sense so they can still use it if they want. Some of the automatic features would help them manage their endpoints. But usually they would be better off if they hire an IT guy, utilize the program. Yeah, so I would say when it comes to endpoint management, you have to buy all those different types of tools. You often come across budgeting concerns, right? Your CEO or your CISO will say, hey, our budget is this much money, we're not going to buy all those tools, narrow it down. So you're basically just giving up features that you might actually need, either for compliance reasons or just to make your life easier, right? Sorry, what? I think your mic is off.
Yeah. So you have to catch the wave of the budget cuts in order to get in there, because unhooking all those guys is going to be hard. And then if they're trying to cut costs, that's the only time you're going to be able to come in there and say, hey, I can take care of all of that. So that's kind of a very small window, maybe every quarter or twice a year, that you might be able to catch them just the right time.
Possibly, but a lot of these companies just aren't doing endpoint management at all. In my larger pitch, I basically go into that this market category goes very consumer, because when they aren't doing anything, they get hit in some way, and they're like, oh, I need to buy some tool. So companies are constantly buying these types of tools.
There are a lot of people in the space beside the 4 people you have.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I have a key differentiator that I'm not sharing here today, just because it's a little bit of the secret sauce. And in 2 months' time, I plan on releasing it public, but I want to build it first, be first to market before making that public.
Yeah, fascinating. And of course, you have a lot of credibility, being that has security at Turing, AI. So of course, I believe that. Hey, it doesn't mean. But any additional innovation, say product market fit, in terms of how many other users would want this as a must-have.
Yeah, I've talked to different IT guys, different companies, different CISOs, and I basically give them the pitch, and they've agreed with me that not only would my product be really good and fit well into their ecosystem, but they might want to build customers.
I just have a basic question. I guess it's, I will speak so much. I have a very basic question on how, from what I understand, your product is based on a set of open source available tools that you're just going to package.
No, that is part of my tool. So these open source tools that exist in the market today, some of them are really great, but they're so difficult to deploy and manage that most companies just don't use them. So I'm going to make it a lot easier for those customers to just click a button and turn off something like Facebook's OS query. In fact, there's a company today that charges $7 per endpoint just to deploy Facebook's OS query for you. They're called Fleet DM. That's all they do. I'm just going to include it for free in my product.
So I would have liked seeing a little bit of price differential and how.
Oh, for sure. If there was time, yeah. Yeah. Great.
All right. Cool. Oh yeah, thank you very much. All right, next we have Yuko from Japan Video.
Japan Media, we will unleash Japanese manga to the world with Web3. I have been studying abroad at Tsinghua University in China for years, and so many people were reading pirated content. And after 20 years passed, Japan's pirated content distribution is $19 billion, in a half of that of worldwide. Do you know these titles so popular in all over the world? But how about them? They are much more popular, even more popular in Japan, only in Japan. And almost all Japanese IP titles, especially manga, are lying only in Japan, not translated globally. But there are so many passionate manga fans all over the world, and they are always in trouble in so many ways. At the first, they can't get only mainstream titles, not long tail titles, and they can't get new information, and they often fail in shipments, trading cars, trading goods, and so on. And our original manga metaverse, Japan Media Metaverse, will attract manga fans. In this area, Japan Media Manga Cafe, they can trade cards with NFT, they can compete each other, and they can get new information. And we have so many events like voice actors or creators or so many characters. And in Japan Media Museum, so rare illustrations and so rare goods could be sold with NFT. Without Web3, we can get simple sales revenue from content sales revenue, but with NFT, we can get so many income streams, and not only Japanese publishers, but also creators, translators, manga fans, all of them could make money and could be happy. And we have already about 10,000 pre-registrations all over the world, and using them, we have already sales revenue $2.3 million this year, growing explosively. And we have patents, cryptography patents given by Panasonic for secure, and we could be trusted by Japanese publishers, and so we have a wide network of publishers in Japan. And I think it's difficult especially for foreign companies. And we have received ours abroad, so many titles, and we have a seasoned team to execute our plan. Thank you for listening.
You said you had $2.3 million revenue already this year.
Yes.
Is that through the traditional method without using Web3, or that's with the Web3 NFT system you showed about?
Without Web3. We're using registration users, and we are promoting, so mainly Japanese customers want to promote to foreigners, and we are advertising sales revenue. We have, okay. Can I say? Okay. These registrations are our network.
So what are they buying? They're buying the existing products that are out there?
Yes.
Regular registration?
Yes. And so many Japanese companies, especially global companies, want to advertise foreigners, and it's difficult to only in Japan. So they use us, and our sales revenue may be from advertising. Makes sense? Sorry.
Well, I think there is a little bit of a confusion of what exactly the product is. So it's from what I understand, and I'm trying to just paraphrase. So you're trying to gain exposure for those long-tail Japanese manga titles that are not familiar with world consumers, right?
Yes.
So with that in mind, just kind of it's more of just a comment. By the way, my daughter is just a very passionate manga artist. So, and from that, I know that at least in this country, it's a very young phenomenon. So we're not even talking teens, we're talking like pre-teens. So to what extent are you considering kind of this different fit of your product in different cultures? And what does it mean for the design of your product, right? To what extent do you want a bunch of 9-year-olds like going to your virtual spaces?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I think I know so many, except Japan, so many countries are so young people reading manga. I know, but at first early adopter is maybe not teenager, more than teenager, more older teenager, and maybe so many China. And many China and Japan and Taiwan and Singapore and South Asia and including US and including Europe because not so many but United States people and European passionate fans LTV is so expensive, so including Target but not so at the first time not so we wanted to see many.
So the first thing you started off with was you're trying to solve a piracy problem, but you're not doing that yet. Right?
Actually, this is 3 minutes presentation, so we can't include sorry, we can't include.
Let me go down the direction.
Okay.
So, what are you asking for?
Okay.
Did you want money? What are you asking for?
Okay. Funding.
You don't have much.
$1 million.
And you know how you're going to use that. This is no slide talking about any of this.
Yes. Sorry. And $1 million and 70% in development and 30% is advertisement.
You want to invest in pay for advertising?
Making network. So advertisement. So
Marketing.
Yes, marketing. Sorry.
Clarification question. We have a slide showing that this year it's 2.3 million.
Yes.
Fantastic. And then it will go up to 6.1.
Yes.
And the delta that you're trying to, the approach that
Yes.
you're trying to take is to go Web3. Is that
Yes.
assumption? And I'm trying to understand the linkage between your audience, like your customers. Are they currently in the NFT market system? Is there are they aligned?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I think maybe in US and in Asia quite different situation. I think, and Asia, so many people are willing to use metaverse, and so many people are willing to use Web3, familiar with Web3, and so a little bit different. And so at the first time with Web3, we are using Web3.
On that note, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So whether it's whether it's wildlife or active shooter, time saved is lives and property saved. In fact, data shows that if you are able to save 1 minute in emergency response time, you can save 10,000 lives in US. Unfortunately, I experienced this personally in Tubbs fire in 2017 in Santa Rosa. 22 of my neighbors died in this fire and 5,000 homes destroyed, including my home. The problem was that first responders who came in could not be tracked in GPS-defined areas, inside homes and other areas. Hi, my name is Vicky. I'm CEO and co-founder of Navigate.io, a self-contained location intelligence solution to solve this exact problem. The good news is that Navigate.io is already #2 team in a NIST-sponsored competition of First Responders Smart Tracking Challenge, where we participated last year in 3 phases, competing with 40 plus teams. So what's the problem? 2 folds. One is that infrastructure deployment is too complex or expensive, including hardware. And the second is current methods are not very accurate. In fact, today's solution is radios, which are verbal, periodic, and inaccurate. Navigate.io provides a visual, real-time, and precise solution. On the 2 axes of accuracy and infrastructure-free nature, point solutions today just address one of these 2. Navigate.io comes ahead and solves both of these problems together. So what is the solution? It's a 3D situational awareness software solution based on IoT technology, which in the GPS denied areas track personnel, monitor safety, coordinate reliably, and provides intelligence through tracking data. On the key factor of response time, we have demonstrated reducing a response time by 60% as compared to the target we were given about 10 to 25%. Navigate.io has a huge customer traction. We have 200 plus customers in our pipeline, 20 LOIs, and we already obtained 2 purchase commits through various POCs. By 2024, we'll have 500K ARR, 500 plus users, and 5 million in the pipeline. Although we are starting off with public safety, wherever dynamic mobile environment creates safety and performance challenges, Navigate.io will play a role. That includes military, construction, retail, industrial, AR, VR, for a total 47 billion opportunity. I have a top-notch team. All my team members are PhD, and we have a good advisory team as well. So here we are. Navigate.io is disrupting location intelligence market. With a huge market traction, top-notch award-winning team, we are going after a 47 billion opportunity in multi-industry. And we would love for you to join in as well. Thank you.
So my first question is, the dongles that we see on the screen here, are those finished or are they?
Those are renderings. We have prototypes which we have tested with first responders, and those response time are coming directly from those POCs.
So everything is all pre-revenue, pre-pipeline. We haven't seen this work in any active incidents. Right?
We have worked in active incidents, actually, 4 of them. And we got 2 purchase commits coming out of those 4.
Great presentation. Want to better understand the product?
Sure.
Are there hardware components, are there beacons, software-based?
Very good question. The heart of the solution is software algorithm, which makes this accurate and infrastructure free. But we are using off-the-shelf hardware components for these beacons, and we use them to create this mesh, and we are using fusion of different wireless technologies to make it work infrastructure free and infrastructure free and accurate on XYZ location.
Whose IP is this?
So we come out of NEC. We started incubated in NEC. We got spun off last year
So the technology was developed in NEC Pistol Labs, and we have the IP agreement with NEC. So we are a C Corp in Delaware right now. We are commercializing this.
It's a nice polished presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have 2 more to go. Masa from Heiko.
It's just.
Bless you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Masa from Kaiko, originating from Kyushu University. I have a PhD and I'm responsible for R&D. So I am doing this business to make the world healthier. By the way, do you know sugarbones? Yeah. Sugarbones have been used for producing sugar, but we are making protein for medicine. The huge pain point of vaccine is that most vaccines are injection type, so it takes time and cost to inject one by one, and it must be stored at low temperature. We can solve this problem. Here is our core technology. Sugarbones can make any proteins, and it is like a bioreactor, so it is faster, scalable, and cost effective compared to the other conventional large tank system. There are 2 types, liquid type and oral type, and we have established oral type vaccine production method. Why oral vaccines? There are many benefits: self-administration and room temperature storage and transportation. Here is our strategy, our horizons. We are going step by step. Firstly for animal, finally for humans, and now we are here. We are working on big virus vaccine. Here is the example of circovirus. Circovirus induces poor growth and great economic loss. So we are currently developing vaccine for BCQ. This is a movie about our powder was mixed with the feed. The movie wasn't working. Okay. We have already succeeded in suppression of virus and actually higher weight. And we also developed vaccine for human norovirus, most of these cases in Africa, so we can contribute to the Africans' health. Here is the market size. As you can see, there is a huge opportunities. And our goal is to deliver our oral vaccine to the world. So we'd like to partner with multiple pharmaceutical companies. And here is the team. We have a strong background, and we also have a mighty team of sugarbones. So this is our milestones. In 2025, we plan to start clinical trial study, and 2030 we will launch the oral vaccine for norovirus. We change the world with sugarworm. Thank you.
I have a clarifying question. Are you using the extract from the silkworm, or are you grinding up the entire silkworm and eating that? Or using that for the entire silkworm for the vaccine?
Yeah, our oral vaccine uses the whole silkworm. Yeah.
Okay. Second thing I noticed on your slide, could you go back one slide? Yeah. It's very unusual for you to have an IPO before you launch your product. So you say in 2027 you're going to go IPO, but you're not going to launch until 2030. That seems odd. Is that what you meant to say? I'm just looking at the...
This wrong or? Oh, it was fun.
You find, by the way, a very nice team slide. Good job.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding, maybe some peer-reviewed journal literature on, this particular approach. Where are you with that? To what extent is the medical community validated your approach?
Thank you. We have good result. We are writing some papers, but before that, we have applied patent to protect our technologies. So, and our team have many advisors, technical advisors, so we can discuss with our data or some legal advices we receive from it. Okay, thank you.
In terms of your customers, so eventually your customers will be pharmaceuticals. Is that the
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
basically with pharmaceuticals.
Currently, is there any commitment or any kind of indication of interest?
Yeah, thank you. We are discussing with pharmaceutical companies already. So in this year, we have have alliance with Japanese pharmaceutical company, and we already discussing with Europe pharmaceutical companies. So this will go well.
Thank you.
All right, the last startup of the night, Tim from 7.
Alright, thanks. So the weekend's coming up, and you're probably thinking about what am I going to do this weekend? Probably all been there. An empty slot. What are we doing this weekend? Well, probably a lot of you start with, well, who's in town? Especially with COVID, everyone's working remote, right? Who haven't I seen lately? Maybe we start texting to some of our friends, and then we get some response, and then, well, okay, when are we going to hang out? We're checking our calendar apps. We're comparing our calendars, right? And then, well, what are we going to do together? Maybe we found some time. Well, we're going to find something to do. Hey, why don't we go to some restaurants? So maybe we pull up, okay, but where is this? How am I going to get there? Right? So we're going back and forth. We're trading links on text, more text, and more text. And then a whole bunch of other things. You have to check open table. Oh, the restaurant's not on open table. Maybe it's on Resi. So you're referencing a lot of different apps here. And at each step of this way, there's a failure point. Maybe your friend's not in town. Maybe you can't find the time that works. Maybe the restaurant doesn't have a table. So there's a lot of failure points. We spend a lot of time doing this every weekend. Not even just on the weekends, but the weekdays too. It's not fun. Right? We're spending countless amount of time actually trying to just get together with our friends and do the things that we love. And we do this all the time. And we don't think actually about time cost. And actually this adds up to a lot, about 50 to 60 hours a year that you spend trying to make plans, many of which don't even happen. That's time that you can be spending with your friends or doing something you love instead. Really, we just want it to happen. Right? We want to get to the end. We don't want to do all the work that we put into it to actually get there. That's where 7 comes in. This is where we're actually bringing everything together. All the things that come to your plans, we do it magically. So we bring your friends, your activities, your time, your places all together. So we skip to the end. And we do this by just presenting the option at the end with all the things already that pull from the services you already know and love. Eventbrite, Yelp, your calendar, your contact directory, all the stuff that you can plug into it. Now you don't have to check 3 to 5 apps. You don't have to do 5 to 10 steps just to make a plan with your friends. It just serves you the answer and you just say yes or no. And it pops out a little text. You send the text and boom, your friend basically just agrees because guess what? It's suggesting things they like too in the time they're free. So you don't even need to ask them. And it's not just for one-on-one. You can do this with a group of people as well. And key, a lot of social apps have died because I have to convince you to download my app. When was the last time anyone here got a friend to download an app? Like, it's not easy, right? So this actually, use a web application there, get some fun, make real fun happen. And we're building this with an amazing team that has worked on some of the most popular and successful consumer apps of all time. Airbnb, Spotify, Apple, even education apps. We're really thinking holistically about what this can do for you. So that's 7. We are in closed beta now on test flight. We are launching this to the world soon, so feel free to grab the QR code and join the waitlist. This is going to start in the US, probably English, but other people can use it as well.
Okay, just thinking this is a Japanese focused presentation. So.
I mean, definitely urban is definitely a focus. Like I think it's going to be a little bit hotter in urban areas, for sure.
Talk a little bit about the business model.
Sure. So I saved that one for this because I knew you guys were going to ask this. So basically, this is covering several different major markets that are growing really rapidly. So obviously, we have social media is an obvious one, but there's no posting, there's no profiles. This is all about your friends, which is definitely a trend. You see this, a lot of people are leaving Facebook. They're really tired. Yeah. So the business model is specifically premium membership. So kind of like think like Calm, except for your social health, not your mental health. And so Calm is very successful. They make about $200 million a year. And actually, so it's $5 billion just for wellness apps, but the larger circle is actually $1.5 trillion into health. So it's huge.
So what are you charging for?
So similar to the Calm model, that's the plan. They do about $70 a year.
I was just thinking about the context in which you're testing it, and you tend to focus on the individual level. I see the application of this in kind of group curated experiences, like the educational context, like when are your classes, when are you free type of a thing. Because when I'm thinking about individual level, I think there is so much of a group dynamic that's happening. Like within your peer group, you have one planner that tends to overtake this whole process no matter what. You tend to have people who don't want other people to know when they're free. So I was just wondering, to what extent are you considering the reality of group dynamics in designing this? And are you thinking about the more curated aspect?
Yeah, no, it's a really excellent question. So, backstory behind this is something that I've experienced very directly myself as someone who tends to get my friends together. You're absolutely right. And I spent almost 2 years before I even started startup just studying behavioral psychology and social neuroscience to try to understand how actually people come together. So not just from the purely technical standpoint, because there's a lot of psychology. And the reality is actually about 10% of people are the people who like to get their friends together. You probably all have a friend like this who makes all your stuff happen. And, we burn those people out.
I'm surprised I didn't have plans. I didn't have friends like that.
Yeah, and during, and this is a key thing too, because during COVID, those people got burned out. And you probably notice a lot of them aren't actually organizing things anymore. So it's a big problem for our friend circles, our community, society, right? So there's a lot of really awesome things going on here, but people are still hungry to hang out. I mean, probably you've all experiences or had conversations about this, especially this sort of quasi post-COVID era, right? Is like, when are our friends getting together? Why aren't more things happening? And so part of this is that I want to target those 10% of organizers as first adopters. But actually, I want to make organizing so easy that that percentage grows, because this is the easy button. You just push it and things happen. And it's based on the stuff you like. So affinity groups, if you like karaoke, if you like sports, then it actually helps you connect with your friends who do that. Maybe your friends want to try, or if you even know your friend like that thing. But you can also connect your friend with friends and other people. So it's very private network oriented.
I'm curious about traction, but I know you're still in kind of beta, so it's a little bit hard. And any indication that maybe you do have other page ready?
Yeah, so we have I didn't mention, but we have a wait list of about 1,000 people already. This is without even trying. In fact, some of the people I just have met and demo this, not my friends, keep asking me when it's going to be ready, which is always a good sign. Of course, how do you scale that up, right? So this is actually why, behind our team, we've got some really busy people. I've been for a long time. I've invested in startups myself, and so I have really awesome advisors behind one of my friends that I've known many years. People like my friend Beck, he led Guild for 11 years. He took it from $20 million to $1 billion revenue, and folks from Eventbrite, some folks who are at Slack. So, people really know how to build a business from scratch up to a really sizable business.
How much are you raising?
I'm not raising right now. Yes. So I'm just trying to, because I want to get to traction, this consumer app. I want to prove, because this is a pretty new model, obviously. I want to prove that I can actually get and retain and do product market fit before I go with my hat out to investors.
Okay, so you're not asking for money, and you're not asking for beta investors. What are you asking for?
I'm asking for everyone to use it.
You can sign up for a wait list.
Yes, yes, but it will be, literally the open beta should be, I'll talk to my engineer back there, but it's still probably like 2 to 3 weeks. We'll start rolling this out to folks on the wait list, and scale. It's designed to scale. I mean, we have some really awesome tech behind the scenes to help it scale.
Thank you, Tim. We had 6 very different startups. So something for everybody. We'll now take another break. The judges are going to discuss. Please check out the demo booth. I ask you partially selfishly because there are 2 that are tied. It'd be nice if I could just have a decision made for me. But thank you again to all the startups. Let's give another round of applause to the startups and the judges. And I will call you back when we are ready. Thank you everybody again. This has been a lot of fun. First time in a couple of years that we've gotten back in person, and just really, really grateful for our judges who had some great insights, great questions, and here we go. So, the way this is gonna work is I'm gonna announce the demo booth winner, and then the judges will go through 3rd, 2nd, 1st place. So, are we ready? Anybody good at drum rolls? Love it, thank you. And the demo booth winner is Bio Nature. You're Bio Nature, right? All right. Who's taking the picture? We gotta have a picture for this. I'll hide the mic. All right, she had our youngest fan in tow today, so let's get some.
Hi everyone, and we're going to start with the 3rd place winner, and this is 7. I'm still a little confused about the name of the movie, but also intrigued. I got the Venn diagram part. I still didn't get, is it the days of the week or the number of friends you're trying to get together?
Actually, I've got every answer you can imagine of this one.
Well, I just appreciated the depth that you went through when you talked about, how you thought about the psychology behind it. Wish there was more of a Japan involved, maybe next time. So I'm really looking forward to getting the app and downloading it. So you said there were 1,000 people, now there's 1,000. So I'm hopefully your new friends would also join you. So this is for you. Thank you so much.
course, yeah, this, if it works as advertised, it will have a tremendous global impact, and it is Kaiko. Thank you, and hope all the best, and definitely it's a very innovative solution, and to silkworms. And
Oh, and by the way, each startup that's winning will receive an hour of judges' time to kind of go through questions that they might have. So.
And the first place winner. Is Navigate. So, great example of this case. There's been a lot of practices, but good use case, good customer discovery, trying to figure out good traction on a path to be able to get to a certain point. Also helping you in the audience visualize what the final product would be instead of pulling out something that looks like a high school science project with a bunch of wires and things sticking out. You can see that what the final thing would be, even imagining the firefighters, with the things strapped to their sides, and solving a real world use case that can go very broadly, global implications, and clearly fire departments have money at the end of the quarter, so they have money they can spend on this kind of thing, so it looks like it's got some legs.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, that's the end of the presentations, the talks. Feel free to network. If you're interested in learning more about V-Trax, find somebody with a fun colored thing. And thank you again. Another round of applause for the judges.